All right. Okay, so now the meeting's being recorded.
So now be on your best behavior. All right. Rosie, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Trying to stay cool in this hot weather.
I was about to say warm.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, warm. Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Rosie, I don't know if you've met Gabby yet, but Gabby is the co-chair of, she's a new board member. She's a co-chair of Communications Committee. And you have another position on the board too, right?
I'm doing the secretary role as well.
Right.
So yeah.
That's right.
Okay, I know I was there the other day when they had the new members come aboard, but I don't know if everybody was there or not. Hi, Gabby.
Got it.
Hi. Looking forward to meeting you in person.
I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so we can take a look at the agenda. Sorry, one second.
No, Lizzie said she was going to be joining the meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I was just talking to her actually. Let me email her.
There it is. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We'll do a quick review of the agenda and go over literally 1 or 2 meeting rules. So after this, we're gonna have some public comments and introductions, followed by a discussion and possible action of the Communications Committee goals and mission statement. We're going to review our mailable postcard project. We're going to give an update, hey Lizzie, on our board member news project. We're going to talk about some website design updates. Going to go over the UNNC social media accounts that are used. And then we're going to open it up for any new project suggestions, any ideas anybody has for the for projects for Communications Committee to take on. So the only rules, we're going to keep things pretty loose, hopefully, but we are going to follow the agenda. If there is a vote, anybody who's present at the meeting is eligible to vote on anything that comes up. Any other rules we need to go over, Gabby? Nope. Okay.
No, don't think so.
All right. So we'll move on to agenda item number 2. Any public comments? Anybody want to introduce themselves? I'll go first, I guess. Everybody here knows me. I'm Raheem, co-chair of the Communications Committee.
My name is Rosie Brown. I'm former member of UNNC for about 5.5 years, and I was also an outreach chairperson and public works chairperson, CIS chairperson. Couple of hats.
Busy lady.
Gabby here, been a member for a few weeks now. Also co-chairing with Raheem.
Lizzie?
Oh, sorry. I'm using my phone, so I can only see one face at a time. Good evening, everyone.
I can barely hear you.
Oh, how about now? Is it better?
Better.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Lizzie Moramisato. I am a member of the governing board since 2015, so 5 years now. Area rep for Jefferson Park, Area 6, and I was just appointed at the last meeting outreach chair. So that's my current position. Thank you.
Yay!
Right. Thank you guys, ladies, for those intros. One thing that all the committees on the board have been asked to do is come up with a goal or mission statement, just so it's kind of clear what we're here to do. So this was actually first put on the agenda way back just before lockdown, and we never got around to it. And so wanted to bring this up, see if anybody had any ideas for what some of our goals should be, and maybe a mission statement. So I'll just open up the floor to anybody's ideas, suggestions. I'll take some notes.
If you have the information of like what the outreach chair does, or the outreach does, is kind of hand in hand, because communications is also the ability to get the information out to the people. A lot of it is via, social media, internet, electronically, where they're not always able to do under just straight outreach.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, that's, sorry.
I just want to make sure it's our mission is to make sure that people are aware that UNNC exists and the different types of events that we have and what we do in the community and just what is UNNC.
Okay. That's a good point about outreach, Rosie, and maybe Lizzie, since you're here as a new outreach chair, this might be the perfect time for us to kind of talk about our goals, together, but then also like where we might draw a line in the sand, like what is outreach versus what is communications and vice versa. Do you have any ideas on the subject?
Right. Right now, I have been, it's been in my thoughts constantly, because yes, I understand there's like this gray area where our tasks are going to overlap just because of the nature of our committees. I guess what I believe that part of outreach is obviously spreading the word as much as we can, not only through social media, but also, now obviously in COVID times, we cannot give things away, because that would be also part of what outreach as part of the outreach committee, I would be in charge of actually coming up with maybe promotional items, information, flyers, that sort of thing. I don't know, what do you think? Communications comes up maybe with the flyer design, and then I could take over the tasks of posting them in different community pages that we have online, Nextdoor, Facebook. I don't know how active we are on Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah, and that's we're going to talk about our social media presence a little bit later, but I think you bring up a good point in that maybe outreach deals more with like the strategy of how the neighborhood council reaches out to our stakeholders, and then like the communications committee takes on the how of like how that happens. Like if you need a flyer design, we can take on, how to effectively communicate whatever message you're trying to get out.
Yes.
And then, and Gabby and I had a call with Jeff Camp last week, and he was talking about all the different like neighborhood groups that exist within the UNNC footprint. And so, yeah, if you were the point person who was actually making the connections to all those neighborhood groups, so that makes it easier for us to actually like get word out about things. So we like the idea of having a network of people to kind of get information out to is really cool. So if that's something that outreach could could build up so that we can create messaging to kind of get out, I think that'd be a great like 1-2 punch.
Yes, definitely.
So I think for me, being in like external affairs, one of the distinctions that I've drawn between communications and outreach is like outreach is more in line with community engagement. And so looking at how to build and improve the relationship between the organization and the community. And then communications is more of like the marketing side, like developing the content that goes out for community engagement, right? And I also think that we need to maybe be a little bit more clear about what our mission is and what our goals are, because they're two very different things. And I think that Rosie brought up a good goal for us, but our mission should be our why. So our mission should be like, why are we doing this? Why are we participating? Why are we doing community outreach and marketing and all these things? Whereas our goals will be, what do we want to accomplish? And in the middle of that is how we're going to do that. So I think that starting off with identifying those goals for communications committee, and then perhaps Lizzie, if you're interested in identifying those goals at an outreach meeting, where we can work hand in hand, because those two things are pretty much very tied together. So that would be where I think we should start, really, is just where we can identify those two things.
So you're saying start with the goals and then come back to the mission statement, like create goal, like communication committee creates some goals, outreach creates some goals, we kind of align on that, and then that'll make our mission a little bit clearer, a little bit more defined.
Yeah. I mean, we can start either with either one. I just think like if we're able to identify some of like what our mission really is which is, you know, our why for doing this, and then our goals, which are like our what we're trying to accomplish, then we can move forward with the how of what we're going to do. And that's mirrored on the, I don't know if you guys have heard of Simon Sinek's the Golden Circle, which is a really good concept that I use for pretty much everything that I do.
Okay, good to know. So do you think that it's worth spending some time in this meeting here talking about goals and the mission statement? Or do you think it's better to like go away, kind of come up with some concrete things and then come back and kind of discuss those specifics?
Yeah, I think if it's permissible, we should maybe start a working draft and then come back with a more concrete final layout of what that can look like.
Okay.
And
let's
work together with outreach to do that.
Yeah. Lizzie, when do you have your meeting set yet or no for outreach?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I'm just I may have some scheduling conflict with my tutoring, which is just being set up in the coming weeks.
Okay.
That's why I haven't been able to commit to a first meeting date, but definitely I am working on that.
Okay. Well, what I'd like to do is maybe just set some sort of timeline, just so that we don't just kind of keep kicking this down the road. So I think our next meeting for communication is going to be I think it's 9/17.
Okay.
I think, let me make sure that I'm not making that a 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So 9/17 is our next meeting. So maybe.
Are you guys meeting once a month? Or
yeah, every month.
Other month?
Every month, the third Thursday of every month is our standing date. And Gabby, that's something we can talk about. If that time doesn't work for you, if there's a time that works better, we can switch it around. I'm definitely much more flexible in this COVID era than I was before.
This is fine for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll keep it. And I made our meetings used to be a little bit earlier. I made this one a little bit later, selfishly, just because my daughter goes to sleep around 7:30, so it kind of made things easier for me.
I think it works out for a lot of parents.
Yeah.
Probably.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So Gabby, we can start this working document and we can start bouncing things around. And anybody else, we'll give everybody access to this document. And then by our meeting on 9/17, we'll kind of have a working document with some goals and maybe a rough mission statement. Lizzie, if you have anything by then, cool. If not,
Yes.
Hopefully you can be present at our next meeting. We can chat about it before our next meeting. We can kind of talk about if you feel like there's some overlap or some things that we're overstepping on, or we should take a bigger step on. So we can just have, again, like a timeline to just kind of get this knocked out. Yeah.
I think this time, so one Thursday at 8, I think that works for me too, because
Okay.
usually my students start either at 4, so I have maybe slots at 4 or 5:30. I should be done by 7 most of the time.
Okay.
So it should work out for me. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll say by 9/17, we'll have a working document of
Who knows?
goals.
I may have a meeting set up for outreach before, beginning of September. Who knows? I will see. I will try to do that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. All right. So no action on that tonight, but 9/17, we'll come back to it and see where we are and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing I want to talk about is this mailable postcard project. So I'll share my screen again. Just kind of
Have
go
you asked for
through.
funding for it yet? Because they have funds for mailing out just about to everybody now.
Yeah, I mean, how soon it would actually get mailed out is the question, but there's definitely funds available. So we got funding approved last fiscal year, and then the lockdown happened, and so the funds got rolled over. I believe they're still earmarked for this project. But I was talking to Gabby about this last week also, and I think it provides us a good opportunity to kind of re-look at this whole thing and kind of, some time has passed since we first came up with this idea. We can kind of revisit it and see if it's still a good idea, see if there's things we want to change or do differently. So this idea came about because as a communications committee, we felt like it was partly our job to let our stakeholders know who we are. In our MailChimp account, which is our email database, I think we have something like 1,000 people in our database, and our footprint is hundreds of thousands of people. So in an effort to kind of boost awareness about the neighborhood council, we came up with this idea to create mailable postcards that would be region specific. So these postcards would go out in each of our 6 distinct regions and have information that was specific to that region. So it would have photo and email information of your UNNC rep, maybe like a historical fact. It would show on a map where your area is, just like a lot of basic information, and also a URL to a mini site within the UNNC website that would be basically like a landing page for your specific region, or that would also just be a resource for anything happening in your region, whether it's local businesses or community organizations or governmental organizations, or whatever is happening in your area. It'd be like a web page that kind of goes further and gives even more information on that. So based on that, we put together this proposal, and so we'll just run through it. So the cost we were going to use the U.S. Postal Service has a program called like EDDM, Every Door Direct Mail, I think. And basically you can chart out a little a mail route, and they'll distribute these along those mail route, right? So the printing and distribution for that was going to be $2,800 through our web designer. Creating 6 unique landing pages for all the UNNC regions, like I talked about, was going to be $900. Additional printing Oh, so like if we wanted to have more flyers on hand than the Postal Service was going to mail out, there was money allocated for that. And then we were going to take away $450 from what was in our website fund last fiscal year to kind of pay for half of the landing pages we were going to create. So I mean, this is something we'll probably won't get that money back since we've actually upped the amount of money that we're spending on the website now. So this bottom line total 3752 will probably be up by 450. So it'll put it in the low 4,000s for the total. The mailer was designed by a committee member. She's still interested and on board for the project. She wasn't available to make the meeting tonight, but she's still on board. And this is just a printout of the Postal Service like routes that I selected for each region. So it'd be way too expensive to hit every single door in every region. So I kind of picked the most populous routes in each region. Just kind of goes through that in each region. And that's the cost to print, distribute the mailers. And then this is kind of the rough, or the first draft of the actual mailer. So at the top here, there'd be some sort of messaging specific to your neighborhood. So hello, Jefferson Park, Round Heights, Harvard Heights, whatever the neighborhood is. Letting people know right away up top. This is a note from your neighborhood council. We have our logo on the top right side. We'll probably do a better job of blending that into the banner up there. And then, yeah, so like showing a little map here of UNNC's entire footprint, but then also showing the region where this is being delivered to in a different shaded color. And then this up here on the right side are just like some big, bold, broad facts to kind of try to engage with people. All this copy, like this whole design, everything is still up for discussion and review. We can change and modify anything here. And then on the back of the card, more information. So these were at the time, and Najee's on the board, Tracy I think has left the board, but we wanted to definitely put our representatives on the card so that people kind of know who represents them. Gives not exactly a history of UNNC, but a kind of a broad overview of UNNC here. And I think this text here was just kind of tempting. How and when did it start? How can I get involved? Might be one that we keep. But again, just we wanted to keep the information kind of big, broad, and engaging to kind of get people to kind of read through and be interested in the neighborhood council. Hopefully with the goal of them coming to our website, signing up for our mailing list, getting involved, coming to meetings, going to committee meetings, joining committees. And that is that. So it's kind of a broad overview of the project. Nancy Cruz has a raised hand. What's up, Nancy?
Hi. I just had a question. What would be on the landing page for each neighborhood region? And then is it something that would need to be updated?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I mean, in the most ideal version in my head, I think initially the landing page would look something like the postcard here. Like there needs to be some sort of connection where when people go to that page, they're reminded of the postcard and vice versa. And yeah, I think like if you are a neighborhood rep, I think this page is a resource for you. It's a way for you to kind of customize how you want to reach out to your stakeholders. That information can definitely be updated and kept current for any issues that are coming into the neighborhood or super relevant at any given time. But that was the idea, yeah, to just kind of, again, in my most ideal version of how this would play out, the neighborhood reps would use this as a tool to outreach with their stakeholders. I don't know if that's like a pie in the sky vision of this, but yeah.
Rosie is up next.
Yeah. So the postcard and the landing page are the same. Is that correct?
I think the landing page will probably have more. There'll be more. I mean, there's infinite space on the web page, right? So there's more space to put more things.
Okay.
So ideally, there would be more information on the landing page than on the postcard. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think
now,
that, oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Rosie. Sorry.
on the Meet Your Representatives, because they change so often,
Mhm.
and Tracy's not there anymore, Najee, it's like when are they up for, election again? It's good to have it there, but I don't know. It's good to know who's who, but we need to make sure that somebody who's on there, who's always going to be there. And you have rep 1, rep 2. So each person has a rep number, right? So what?
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
So what if there's neither one of these people, they try rep 1, they try rep 2, neither one of those people are there anymore, then they can email the president.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah. So
which says where the offices we normally meet, right now we're doing a lot of Zoom.
Mhm.
So that may want to include something there too. Okay. What do you want to say?
yeah, I was gonna say. So I mean, I think this information up here, the reps would, depending on when we were actually going to send these out, like we would obviously make that as current as possible. I mean, I think it's the nature of the neighborhood council that there's changes on the board. And I think instead of like trying to like not ever get that wrong, I think it is important. Personally, I think it's important to actually see people's names, and great to see faces up here if you can. So I mean, this would be the version that we would have sent out like back when Tracy was on the board. Now that she's not on the board, we would obviously replace that, and it would be current ideally when it goes out. This might be something if it works and people love it, then this is something we can update annually, biannually, whenever, and we would replace whoever's new on the board. But I do think that it's important to kind of see names and faces of the people that represent you. I think it's helpful. I think it kind of gives it more of a personal feel. We talked a lot about when we were developing this. We talked about a lot about these mailers that we all get in the mail every day, and trying to think about like what makes them sticky, what makes them something that you'll look at versus something you'll just like toss away. And I think anything that has information that's like too generic and not specific enough to me, like I'm less inclined to read it and keep it. So I think that was a point of, instead of making one mailer for the entire region, we wanted to do it by neighborhoods, because we thought that was something that people would see and be like, oh, I'm a part of this like smaller thing. Hopefully that would be something to get them to keep reading. And again, like seeing people's names and faces I think it's something else that would like make people feel some sort of like human connection to this piece of paper that that they're getting in the mail. And yeah,
if I may add to that, I think that we are free to make these updates on the website too. So if we don't include them on the postcard, there's always the option to include them on the website. I've gotten some mailers even that have like a QR code that most smartphones already read and can literally like open up in a matter of seconds the website on their phone. So making that accessible too would be great. But I think Rosie brings up a good point. Like we will need to update this information. And I know that you noted that this is a rough draft anyway. So I think if we can gather some of these comments that we're all making on the draft, we can incorporate that now on this mailer. And Lizzie was next.
Yes. So I have a suggestion. Ideally, and you know how I'm always concerned about our Spanish-speaking neighbors. So, and I understand, I mean, ideally in the postcard would be bilingual, but there's just no space. So how about including just one line where we say something in Spanish, referring the neighbors to the landing page, and include content in Spanish
I love
in the
that.
landing page, because
Yes.
there's always that lack of information, and
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I think
that
that's
was
really important.
as much bilingual content that we can. And I'm always up for doing the translation, so that's not a problem.
Thank you, Rosie. I think that was some feedback that we got when we initially presented it to the board, and we just hadn't had a chance to implement it on here. But yeah, that's
Yeah, that's a
perfect
really good
idea.
point, Lizzie. Yeah, and I'm happy to assist in translation too.
Excellent.
And I think that a lot of these will be also in line with changes to the website, which is an item that we can also dig into today.
Yeah.
And I believe Nancy is next.
I was gonna make a similar point to Lizzie, so she beat me to it. Another thing is, like, a couple of us speak Spanish, so I wonder if we could write like habla español, just so that if they can reach out to us, they feel more comfortable.
like if you were a rep on this thing, like you'd have a little thing that said hablamos español, habla español. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
That's a really cool idea. I like that.
Another,
was that it, Nancy? Oh, okay.
Yeah, just another point. And I don't know if this is a change that we can make now, but I've seen in some of the other neighborhood councils for their email addresses, like I think ours is our name and our last name and then at UNNC. But I think in other neighborhood councils, like it's actually like area rep 2 at neighborhoodcouncil.com. And I wonder if that will deal with the fact when there's turnover, they don't email the individual person, but just like that email tagline or email address is tied to whoever sits in that seat at a moment in time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's something that it's a change that could be made. I think there'd probably be a big debate maybe not. I think I know I would debate that point a little bit. I kind of like having our names in the email and having the email stay with the person, but I can see that I understand the merit and the idea behind having email just is tied to a rep, but yeah, it's a note that I'll write down.
Okay, Rosie.
Raheem, can you put, this is the back side, or no, that's the front side, or can you put
this is
the
the
side of the postcard?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Okay, this is it. Okay. All right, thank you.
And I can email this around if anybody wants to see it and wants a better look at
it.
Yes,
definitely.
Yep.
Yes, please. Thank you. Looks so pretty.
Yeah, I think who designed it? Again, I forgot.
This lady named Gigi Hall. She's been pretty active on the communications committee. She's a graphic designer, and she offered up her services for this. Yeah.
Yeah, she did a really great job.
Yeah.
I think it's a really great first pass.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Any other discussion on this item?
I just wanted to talk about this. I want to make sure that I'm not. Didn't mean to do that. That I get like some opinions on this. So the idea that Rosie brought up about not having reps' names or faces on the card, like, is that, where do people stand about that? Like, how does everybody else feel about that?
I think it's better. I think it's better to have faces that they can that people can relate to, and I mean, I totally understand that there's constant turnover, but hopefully, whatever's at the moment, these are our current reps. The mailer goes out and until the next one, and hopefully, the reps will remain the same.
Yeah.
Raheem, did we check with board members if they were okay with having their picture sent out
I
to
mean, we,
people?
yeah, we talked we talked about it.
Freedom of choice.
Yeah, yeah, right. I mean, I know we talked about it in the meeting. I don't remember if anybody had any strong objections, but I think that, yeah,
Just
if you're,
wondering. I mean, it's on the
yeah,
website anyway, but I was just
Right,
wondering.
it is on the website, right?
Yeah. But I think you bring up a good point, and yeah, I'm torn. On my end, I'm torn. I understand what you're saying, Raheem, about having someone's face on there because it feels more personable. Like feels like we tried, to get people to engage, but at the same time, Rosie brings up a good point that like we have some members that may or may not participate as much, and we're sending out their their email and phone number, and so I'm not sure what the best, but I guess we can look at what other neighborhood councils do and maybe just follow that tradition. So we can do some research on what those mailers look like for some other councils.
yeah.
I
Okay.
do. I mean,
Oh.
if you're, okay. Sorry, it's hard for me to raise my hand on the
No worries, go
phone
ahead.
because
And then
my
Nancy.
my laptop is too old and won't handle Zoom. But anyway, the thing is, as an area rep, I think you have increased responsibility. You are repping your area, but still, in theory, still share some of the at-large tasks. So you still go to a general event that is not specifically limited to your area. So I would say each area rep should really think about what their role is and what their responsibilities are, and if they cannot be up to the task, then they probably should change to at large. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Nancy?
Oh, I think Rosie was before me. Go ahead,
You can
Rosie.
go on,
Oh,
Nancy.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
You can go on, Nancy.
All right. Now that Lizzie brought that up, I wonder if, I don't know if we should put the phone numbers, but I think the email addresses are public. And I actually like the personal touch of them knowing, I guess, how their rep looks like, how to reach them, knowing the name of their rep. And now I also wonder, I know we're putting the area reps, so I wonder if we should even put the at-large reps too, as well, on everyone's postcard, because they're supposed to represent everyone. But that's just something that I was just thinking about right now. Go ahead, Rosie.
Okay, for this, the email, have these email addresses been assigned already?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So the email addresses that you see here are just our dummy email addresses. Those are just ones that the designer just temped in. But just like before, Rosie, everybody's UNNC email address is just firstname.lastname@unnc.org.
Right, and I know there was a certain process you have to go through to get your email address and all that. But I think that would be a better idea, so that the same address, like area rep 6@unnc.com, area rep 5, because it does show on your map area 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they can say, oh, I'm in area 6, so area rep 6 and what have you. And then the phone number would be the same phone number as the 731-8686.
Yeah, or I think we would just lose the phone number. Again, that's something that the designer just temped in there, but I don't think it's proper to share personal cell phone numbers, and I think sharing that other general number is just a little bit redundant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, because before I know we had, I think the people, if you were outreach, let's say Lizzie's an outreach person, then the outreach person has a email address or something. I'm trying to remember. Or they maybe just have to go to presentunnc.org. I was thinking that maybe each
There were some committee,
had an email address, right?
yeah, and they still exist. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the email address thing, I guess, is something that we can bring up in our next board meeting to kind of just like take the temperature on what everybody else feels. I kind of feel, well, I said how I feel. I kind of like, first name about last name, but there's two of you who brought it up now.
Can we do like a survey, just a BCC survey to everyone and just survey everybody's opinion? That way we don't have to discuss at a meeting and waste time on that. Okay. Laura, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'm back. We actually specifically years and years ago did want to have email addresses for committee chairs because committee chairs change. So that doesn't mean we have to keep the decision, but we still have, for example, because I still get the emails, planning@unnc.org. And the idea is if I die tomorrow, but people are still trying to reach out for land use items, someone will get that email. I hope not to die tomorrow. But, and I had actually emailed Raheem earlier today, I think, that since we now have some committee chairs who are not board members, we would need to establish for some of those committees some generic emails, because we are not going to give a non-board member a UNNC email address, meaning their first name, their last name. That should not happen. So I think you need to have sort of a package of person emails, committee chair emails, and it's not a bad idea for a postcard to have the rep 1, rep 2. I mean, that's not a bad idea. The question is who's managing all of those emails, because now you're suddenly going to have, that would be 12 more emails. So that's one thing. In looking at this, I, at the moment, do not think we should be considering printing anything that says we have our meetings, any meetings at the council office. I was actually thinking that we need to get a commitment from both Grace, you, and from Mark Ridley Thomas now that we will have our meetings at the council office when either one of them is elected, and that we get to keep our UNNC closet. There's no guarantee that we have that space after December. So I wouldn't want to be spending money on a postcard that goes out and suddenly not necessarily have that space on it. And the last thing, I don't know if this was a joke. How and when did it start? Back in the day, a bunch of people got together and decided to give the council a very confusing name. I hope that's a joke, because although it is a joke that we have the longest name of any neighborhood council in the entire city, the reason we did that, because I was there, is because we want to give a great deal of pride to the identification of our many, many, many distinct and discrete neighborhoods. And that, it's very important to us that we were the United Neighborhoods, many neighborhoods, not just the 3, but also, Harvard Heights and Western Heights and all that. It was an absolute decision. So I think we should go back to that idea and somehow, say that we, in our overall mission, we support, the character of our neighborhoods, and we respect that each of our neighborhoods are distinct, and that's why we support creating a stronger Jefferson Park, for example. I mean, we can't put all of that on a postcard, but that's the underlying reason for the strange name, frankly. So, and I did promise not to get too involved in this committee meeting, but I'm finding myself sitting on the computer and then listening to you guys. So I'm gonna go mute.
It's very compelling. It's very compelling. It's okay.
Thank you, Laura. I think that's actually a good idea, Raheem. Maybe we can even include like what our mission and our goal once we develop it, to include that in the postcard, if that's of interest.
Yeah.
There's something on our flyer. that we had that we would pass out, there's some information on there that should be useful.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Good. That's good.
Yeah, and again, like literally all the text on here, I think maybe I tweaked like maybe a couple of headlines on here, but like most of this was just the designer just like kind of temping in stuff.
Yeah.
Hence the joke about the long name and everything. But yeah, so.
Okay.
One
But I
thing-
mean, the whole point was really just to get the design in place, and then the content is not final. We can still edit it, right? So
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And even as far as timing, like I wasn't thinking that this is something that we would like really move on probably for the next few months, just until things kind of feel a little bit more normal outside. But yeah, I just yeah.
I mean, can we do like a digital postcard to all of the email addresses in our MailChimp account?
Yeah, we could, but I mean, I think that yes, we can, but I just feel like continuing to reach out to this database of people that we already I'm just trying to figure out, or I think
like you want to reach new audiences? Is that what you're?
Yeah, so I mean, maybe we could do something like this and like put it on Facebook and put some money behind it. Do like the Facebook boost. That might be a cool.
No, but you're right. I mean, a lot of people in our neighborhoods may not have internet or I mean, in this day and age, right? But may not have it, and so I think that it is. You're right. You bring a good point up that it is important to reach out to those that really only have a phone and they send text message. Like my mom, she really doesn't use anything other than her phone to send text messages, and that was a big accomplishment. Nancy, go ahead.
Yeah, no, so I was actually going to ask about timing. Like, when do we think we'll be in a position to send out the mailers? Mostly because I feel like a lot of people are participating more because they have nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be good, to get these out and kind of grab their attention right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if it goes out, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Raheem.
Go ahead.
I think if it goes out around this time, we definitely have to change up like where, what our meeting, I guess where we meet would be on Zoom. And then maybe change up just the content of like specifics on meeting accessibility and all that,
Yeah, and I think to kind of your point before, Gabby, maybe it does make sense right now to make a digital version of this that we can put out, as soon as it's done, as soon as we kind of have some consensus on it, like something we can put on Facebook and put some money behind it with a boost, just to kind of do something,
But maybe also mail out some of it too, right? Just to do a little bit of both.
Yeah, we could. I guess what we can do regardless, right? We can kind of hammer down on the design, kind of finalize the design and look of it. And once we get that finished, we can kind of see where we are. We can kind of have this conversation again, see how we feel. And maybe at that time, we'll decide it makes more sense just to do a digital version, or it might make sense to do both, or maybe just the physical printed version. But yeah, so Nancy, I think to answer your question, I don't have a specific timeline in mind for this. It all kind of depends on when we get this, when we are all happy with the design and ready to kind of get it out. I think I'd be cool waiting till then to kind of figure out how we get it out.
So Raheem, why don't we just maybe explore a few more drafts of this between you and I, and then we can share some drafts for the next meeting, and that way we can get all of our other members attending today. We can get their input on those.
Yep.
Maybe
Excellent.
1, 2, 3 drafts that we can show them. Okay, let's do that. So 9/17, we'll also add that to the list.
Okay.
And then lastly, Rosie on this item, and we'll have to move on.
Okay, how many for that price that you had, how many copies was that? Because
So if you
UNNC
look
has what,
really
80,000
closely,
addresses, I believe, in our
yeah,
footprint.
so this is not anywhere close to that. So per region, like this is in Arlington Heights, there would be a total of 2,000 that went out. In Harvard Heights, a total of.
Oh, okay, so long as you can, I can see that when you send it to us, or so.
I'm sorry?
So when you send us the draft, can you send us that too, so that way I can see
Oh, yeah.
how many it was? Okay, so it would
Yeah,
be
and so
definitely great to mail something out, because a lot of people, I noticed that was one of the issues. They were saying, "Oh, I knew nothing about UNNC because you guys don't mail anything," because we really didn't mail anything to people.
Yeah.
And putting on Nextdoor, because Nextdoor is like region specific.
Yep.
Specific. And we could do one of those postcards each region so that it could be on Nextdoor.
Yeah.
Once we get it together.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Rosie. And I think that when we are ready to send this out, it should definitely be part of like a bigger campaign where, like, if we're going to do the printed one, we should definitely probably also have a digital one that goes on Facebook, goes on Nextdoor. Like, we should just kind of try to be ubiquitous, like be everywhere with this, and really try to really kind of make an impact.
Yep.
Cool.
All right. So next item, are we ready to move on?
Yeah.
All right. Next item would be board member news project update.
Yeah, and so another thing that Gabby and I have been talking about this week, and Lizzie probably remembers, Nancy, I think you're on the board when we talked about this last, but one initiative that we wanted to do was we want to create a way to really engage better with our stakeholders, and have our stakeholders hear directly from some board members regularly, and really, like, on our Facebook page, on our website, kind of create a flow of content so that people will know that they can regularly come back to our webpage and kind of see new things. And so one way we wanted to do that was to have board members start writing news stories in air quotes, weekly. So every week, a different board member would be assigned that week, and they would write up a story. Gabby, myself, and anybody else on the committee who wants to kind of like edit that story will do so. And then we'll post it so that we can, again, get into this rhythm of posting content that is specific to our stakeholders, and so that we're not just like, sharing, LA Times articles or content from everywhere else. Like, we'd actually get into the process and practice creating content. So Gabby went ahead and revised the board member news schedule, and I think we're ready to share it with the board, to lay it on the board and let them know that they have these due dates coming up.
Have work.
Right.
Have homework.
Yeah, homework, exactly.
Yeah.
It might be coming to you for some tutoring, Lizzie.
We can share. I can share that tomorrow with all the board members, right?
Yeah.
And we have Rosie on the queue to speak. Go ahead, Rosie.
We had a lot of events that we did that just never made it to social media. It never made it on UNNC's webpage. We had videos, we had pictures, and I think that's important that we have that there so people can see, yes, we are in a community. These are events that we have been doing. Fire Service Day, me and Ethan were doing that for several years, and we had all these pictures and recordings, and we posted, for people to see and see if they could, send it out, but it never got on our webpage. So I think not just the ones that we're doing currently, because I haven't seen much of anything been done in the past, 12 months, but the things that were done prior and the things coming up should definitely be there so they can see we have been doing this for a long time. We've been in the community, we've been doing things, and it's not just we just came by, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Rosie,
Sorry, just to add to that, I'm going to be taking a picture of our participants today. So if Rosie and Nancy, you can maybe use the camera function. I'm going to take a picture so we can post it on Facebook, and maybe, invite people to participate.
see, Rosie wanted to talk about pictures. Here we go.
There's a photo on there.
Rosie, walk the walk, Rosie.
Rosie, you can put one on your
I
name.
have no makeup. I have no makeup right now. My hair is white.
Sorry, I should have probably
Right
announced that. It's okay. None of us do. I didn't leave the house at all today, so I'm still in my pajamas. But yeah. So that's really great that we're on the same page about that. I think that we're that we should be sharing those things with our community.
Yeah, and Rosie, I apologize. Because I think. I was waiting to develop a process to kind of have those things happen. And I never made it happen. So I do apologize. I know it is important that we show people what we're doing and we're out there. So I hope that we can do a better job. I know we can do a better job at that. Thank you for reminding us about that. And I think it's a reminder to me that we need to develop some sort of process, because what doesn't work is when people have pictures or videos or whatever, and they're just kind of sending it to different people at different times or whatever with different expectations. We need to kind of level set expectations for photos and videos that are taken. We might need to have a conversation about legality, rights. Like if you're taking a picture of somebody, do we have their permission to use that photo? How can we use that photo? So it's kind of a big conversation. It's not impossible, but we need to implement a process just so that we have all those things kind of covered off. So thank you for that reminder.
Like a media release form that we can have on hand for at our events when we go back to in person. That would be helpful. That way we can get there. If we take a picture, boom, just have them sign that release form. Yeah,
and you know what? I have one. I feel like I went back and forth with done a million times when we were doing the reps with the website revamp, because we were out taking pictures. And so I know I have a release that I have people signed, and I'm pretty sure that Dunn approved it finally. So we have one.
Okay.
I'll make a note to dig it up.
Cool.
But you know what we could do too, because how some people don't, the taking pictures of children and posting them.
Yeah.
When you have a sandwich board and it tells you on that this is a public event, therefore you will be filmed, you give up all your rights, whatever. I've seen those.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could do that. Yeah.
Be sure that we use the music. You only can use certain music from a certain, 3 seconds or something like that before you have to pay for it. So we'd have to be cognizant.
So we'll have somebody that's timing music for 3 seconds.
If you want to put it on the website, we only can put it on there for a certain amount of time with the music. I have music playing by DJ, and then if you're using someone else's music, you post it.
Yeah, it's kind of a gray area. If you're not using it for specific promotional purposes,
commercial promotional.
The worst,
on Facebook for one of our fire service days, and 2 years later they sent me something and said we had to cut the music on your video because of such and such rights, and I was like, wow. 2 years later.
Yeah.
But you know what? Usually you would add we don't own the rights to the music, and even when because we were having dancing on on the street, and I of course very popular music, and Warner Brothers sent me cut off the music, and you can appeal.
Yeah.
And you can explain yourself, and they will reinstate the music. So that's really There are
Nancy,
ways
go
to-
ahead. Oh, Sorry, Nancy, go ahead. I accidentally lowered your hand.
Oh, no worries. I just had one question. I'm trying to understand, I think, the intersection of the e-blasts and the Facebook updates. And then third, we're going to have these board news member updates that are going to come out. How often? So what's the, how often, the e-blast is the communications group responsible for those? And
No,
how often
that's
do they, should they come out?
right.
And then
So
for the board news updates, how often are they going to be published?
right. So I think what's important to understand right now is like things are just kind of happening as a matter of I don't know, like survival. Like right now, Laura has been sending out the e-blast and creating the e-blast as president. It's not necessarily her duty to do that, but because nobody else was doing it, she's doing it, and like super grateful that she is doing it. So again, like in this idealized version of this in my head, we would be responsible for that. We'd be responsible for kind of compiling everything that would go in an e-blast. This board member news story would be part of that e-blast. It wouldn't be like a separate thing. It'd just be like, this week's, board news, whatever. The way it, I guess, corresponds to our Facebook page is that it's just the Facebook page is, it's another way to outreach to people. And on Facebook, given that you can, you can boost a post, right? You can pay Facebook to kind of promote any content that you share. Like it gives us the opportunity, like if we have an article that we think people really might kind of respond to, we can put, as little as like $10 behind it to have it reach a broader audience. So I think this kind of gives us some flexibility there, and just a way, the way Facebook is designed, like a way for people to actually like interact with us. They can comment on something, we can comment back, or other people can comment, like generate conversation between neighbors, between us and our stakeholders, however we however it goes, but it's just kind of a way to engage with people. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
I just
Yeah, thanks, Gabby. I think that's helpful just to know how often they're going to be.
yeah. I shared the draft schedule. We missed a deadline, so I'm gonna need to push these dates, but pretty much we're going to be having them like every Wednesday or of every week, just so that we're always at least putting out some content. And again, this is just, I guess, an idea. If board members don't feel like doing it, then we'll, I'm happy, and I'm sure Raheem will be happy to take over, some of that. I decided on my topic already, but I'm hoping that board members feel strongly about certain topics that they want to cover, feel good stories that they want to share with the community. And hopefully we could get that every week.
Yeah, and I mean, even to Rosie's point about all these events that we have and are co-sponsors of or sponsors of, like, and a write-up could be as easy as, covering one of those events that we gave money to, or even, all the things that we fund in the course of the year. It could be revisiting something that we funded and kind of checking up on how that's doing. All these planning and zoning projects that we have in our area, could be an update on one of those projects. Like, there's a billion things to write about. That are relevant to us and our stakeholders, and so it's just kind of like hitting as many of those points as we can and kind of seeing what people are into and then kind of respond to.
We want to share something on Facebook. What's the process for that?
Yeah, so they're really, I'm sorry, and I think you might have emailed me last week about something, right? There's not a process. I mean, it should be. Ideally, like there'd be somebody on the communications committee who is like our Facebook poster, and like there'll be like an email address, like that you email something that you want posted on Facebook. There should be some sort of like vetting process. It should probably be run by somebody on the executive committee, if not the president, and then posted. We don't have any sort of like guidelines for what that process should be.
I think we're going into the next item. which is the social media accounts used scheduled for posts. So we can move on to that.
Okay.
And we sort of covered website design update, but we can also merge those two in there since we're a little late.
Yeah.
Running just a tad bit late.
Okay. Yeah, so Nancy, there's not a process. We need to also create a process for that. In the meantime, you can email Gabby and myself and we'll figure it out. I'm really sorry. I know I dropped the ball on whatever you sent me last week. I think it was the survey. But I think I saw Jeff posted it a couple days later just on his own accord, I think. But yeah.
Okay. Raheem, anybody else have any thoughts on the board member news project? We can move on to website design update. Okay. So, Raheem, do you want to give us a little report on the website design? Short update.
So yeah, really short. So somebody was you, Gabby, brought up about like the committee pages, right? On the website, on the web?
Oh,
No?
yeah. Oh, I guess I can talk a little bit about it, but yeah, basically it just seems a little bit well, I think it needs improvement. Is just mainly the thought. Like what our landing page should look like, and what ideas you all may have on what the about pages should have. Right now we have the board members, and then we have resources and the UNNC jurisdiction map. But if there's anything that you guys think we can improve upon, it would be great to gather those ideas now and then just start a working draft of the things that we can improve on the website. So please chime in.
Here, and I'll go ahead and I'll share my screen. I'll share the UNNC website just so we can all kind of take a look at it. And this is we redesigned the website, I guess it was like 2 years ago now. So, I mean, what you see, I promise you, is better than what it was before. It could definitely still be a lot better, but it is better than it was before, but we still definitely have some work to do.
Yeah, and if you guys want to take some time and then email us your suggestions, that would be great. Go ahead. Lizzie, did you want to say something? Or?
Oh, no. I was just nodding. Sorry about that.
Yeah. If you want to take some time and just share your thoughts on what things we can improve on the website, and then Raheem and I can make up a list of the things that we want to work on in the next few months. That would be really helpful. Go ahead, Nancy.
I guess 2 points. One is, how do we get our picture up there if we want it up there? And then
send it to me.
Okay, I'll send it to you. And then 2 is, I think on the committees page, I don't think the list is up to date, just based on what we voted on last week. And the bylaws, I think now they've been revised.
Yeah, they have.
They need to be uploaded.
So I think that one of the things we can focus on is not just the look and feel of the website, but also content updates. We need to make sure that we stay up to date on those, Raheem. So, perhaps we can come up with a way or like a process for doing that so that we can not lose track of the things that need to be updated. So like every board meeting we have, we approve a new document, we'll make sure to follow up on those things as committee co-chairs for the communications team. And go ahead, Laura.
Unmuting. So it's a yes. Yes, the bylaws have been updated. I've also had a request from one of our board members. It's really, really hard to find you have to be very intuitive to figure out where the heck the bylaws are and the standing rules are on the website. Although the other way to find them is just by doing a search function. So I found them readily. On the committees, what we're working on, I'm sure hoping that within the next 2 weeks, we have the full grid of meeting nights, the standing meetings. And some of those committees might meet every other month, but they have to be standing meetings to make them standing committees. We're having a discussion with a city attorney that's not so pertinent to this, other than to know that all of the committees we've just appointed are standing committees. So we're going to have a much more complete list on the website, and ideally with those little mission statements. And we still have a few vacancies, but I don't think we need to wait to fill the vacancies to fill the description. So, I'll take a stab at it and give it to you guys, Gabby and Raheem, but they do need to, bad. Although that feels better than today in the heat. Because they just renewed my driver's license because of COVID. They did not make me go in. So I still have a photo from like 20 years ago on my driver's license. That's the one I want you guys to use. It's really cute. Just saying. Just saying. But anyway.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura. Yeah. Anything that you may find that we can update, please send to us.
Right. See, so the list I had at the board meeting and that which I had posted, I had copied and pasted off of here, and also had gone into some old meeting minutes. So we just need to include the ones that were, I have a longer list, and it was posted in the meeting agenda packet just for the August meeting. But some of the descriptions are short, some are really long, and we need to kind of have a editor's hand at making them all around the same length, so that they don't get overwhelming. And
then send them over, and we can hack them down.
Right. But what Anne was also telling me is just the way this whole platform works. Our meetings are events. It's a real pain in the ass because some of the standing meetings end up in the wrong dates, and I don't understand that. So she has to keep fixing it by hand. And Raheem, you might understand that. But
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Let's examine that, Raheem.
Yeah, but because our standing meetings need to show as standing meetings also in the other place on the there's a count on the calendar. So.
Okay. Yeah. I really do think we also need to work on. So one of the things that, and just this is because I work in government too, transparency is really important, right? So we want to make sure that our agendas are accessible and, that our community members can access them. And right now it's a little bit confusing to find what we need. Like, I went in there and I mean, because I was able to look at everything and I kind of figured it out, but somebody with more limited access to internet or not, doesn't go on websites too much, it may be hard to find. Right. So we have, 2020 is in the middle of the web page. If you have to scroll down to find it.
Yeah.
So
I do remember our web designer Anne was walking me through this, and it's a function of how something is set up. So maybe this is just something we need to completely rethink the calendar so that everything is more clearly laid out, and so that meeting items automatically have the agendas and then later the minutes attached to them, just so that everything is just like kind of all together and simple, right?
Right. Well, also, if what we're looking at is what anyone would see, if there's sort of a disconnect because in the middle column they keep saying agenda minutes, blah blah blah. That's only governing board, correct?
Yeah.
Yet just to the right of that is all of these other committees, and none of those agendas and minutes have anything to do with the committees. So that's again, and let us point out, Anne did not create the website, correct, Raheem? You don't get. She did not.
She did not create the website. She updated the website.
Less than a year. Yeah, less than a year.
But she.
It was Wendy, I believe.
Oh, right. It was it? Yeah, it was Wendy. Yeah, I don't know how I forgot that, but yeah. Yeah. So Anne is exploring just as we are. Is the point? Yeah.
No worries. I think that as long as we we make a running list of things that we want to, you know,
Yeah.
improve. And I'm not saying fix, because, you know, what we have now is actually, you're right, Raheem, it's better than what you had before, and better than than a lot of other neighborhood councils. So yeah, I think we're gonna improve on this, and definitely
So the
yeah,
real,
Just really,
better.
I would say
really
the other
quickly, I
question
wonder.
I have, hand back up. When this is a real chore doing all these virtual meetings in terms of getting everything here, there, and the other place all at the same time. So what happens is the committee chair will create an agenda and get it to me, and then I post it to Dunn. I'm using the I word because this is me. Then I send it to Anne and her teammate at zumwinkle.com, Doug, and Raheem gets a copy, and I just hope one of the three sees it, and then they post it to our website, and then have to turn around, and they have to do that in like a 20-minute period of time sometimes, and then turn around and give me that link, because the link to the agenda is what goes out in the e-blast about the meeting. I'm not positive what I'm seeing here on the screen is where they post the agenda link.
No, it's a Google Drive, no?
No. It's on the
what it was.
website, but I'm not positive it's right here because, for example, I see a homelessness committee meeting that never occurred. So there wouldn't be an agenda there. So I'm not sure that's where they're posting it. And that,
Yeah. Yeah, because the e-blast has a link to the PDF.
Correct.
I just thought you were saving those on a Google Drive, because it
No, they're on the website somewhere, but I'm not sure it's there where we're looking.
Yeah.
It may be in the calendar if we're not in the calendar now. So that's what I'm trying to say. It needs to be more intuitive as to where they would be. And then because Ann and Doug or Raheem, whoever it is, can certainly post it wherever we tell them to post it. But I'm guessing, no, yeah, there it is. But how would anyone have known that?
Yeah, and I think it's also confusing because it's like it's in two places kind of right now.
Wait, where did you find it? Sorry, I was looking at
this
the
was like this is on the calendar page.
Yeah, it's on the calendar
page. Each event will have
a link to the website.
Right.
To the
and that's
agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why do we even need to have a scrolling, rolling thing on the same page as minutes and agendas?
Yeah, and we maybe
why
don't
do we need
like
two
maybe
different
this is
spots?
maybe the calendar
anyway.
is just where it all goes.
Yeah, so let's bookmark this to explore as a change, an edit on the website. And anything else that you find, Laura, let us know.
Well, I don't find anything. I never go to the website, which is probably true of most of our board. But it would
I go every day.
Intuitively.
Yeah, me too.
We're
communication, so we're on it all the time.
Yeah, but if it was on a calendar that looked like a calendar and all the other committee meetings are also on that calendar, that's a really good place for people to see how often we're meeting now that we're getting it going. So that would be a good place to click and have the agenda. And I don't know that you need it in more than one spot. But people could disagree with me. I'm no expert on web pages. I'm no expert on social media either, just so we're clear.
Thanks, Laura. I think as long as the members now that are here now can continue to give us suggestions on what we can improve on, please do so. And it's time for us to move on to the social media schedule for posts and all that. If you're okay with that, Raheem.
Oh, of course, yeah, definitely. So I think what I wanted to talk about here briefly is just our social media presence as a neighborhood council. So right now we're on Facebook. We have a Twitter account that we don't use. We're not on Instagram or Snapchat or any of those other places, those other platforms. So I wanted to talk about that first. Like, should we be on Instagram? If so, you know, one of the things we talked about, Gabby, was just like making sure that we're not just on Instagram or anywhere else for the sake of being there, but like, do we actually have like a plan to kind of fill that account with content? And then we had talked about, or one of the big things we talked about, Gabby, was like that's creating like a schedule for posts so that like we have a very detailed plan, day to day, month, week to week, month to month, of what things are going to be posted on what social media platforms.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if any of you have any thoughts on, you know, what we can do to engage in social media, please share. But we will be coming up with a schedule for posting for at least, I don't know, Raheem, do you think maybe like 6-month schedule would be good for a breakdown? Or I think a year would be too far out.
Yeah, I mean, I think 6 months might even be ambitious, but if you want to do 6 months,
or maybe even like 3, if you think of, that's better. Maybe we can do a 3-month schedule, and that way we can have 4 schedules for the year.
Yep. And I think that it would be great to schedule a post around each committee meeting that's happening. So like if each committee meeting could get a social media post, I'm thinking about like something more than just like, we are UNNC, we have a meeting tonight, like let's dig into the agenda. Like if it's a planning and zoning meeting, like what's one of the things on the agenda that might grab people's attention? Like, hey, they're talking about tearing down a building at like, let you know, something
like
that
how will
really
it impact them, right? Wait, so since I have Rosie, that would make 4 members. Can I take a screenshot now? You can't really see your face, Rosie, because it's kind of dark anyway.
I can't even see me.
It's okay.
And then, if Laura wants to, or Nancy wants to, we can take a picture now. A screenshot, actually, that we can share for our next communications meeting post.
How do I see me on here? I don't
show them all the fun we were having.
Yes, exactly. Wait, you didn't say that very enthusiastically.
Oops.
Raheem, can you stop sharing your screen for a minute so I can get the screen share?
There you go.
There you go. Okay. Laura, did you want to join? Is she there? Probably not.
No, I think
Rosie, why are you hiding?
No, because truly, I want this to look like a committee meeting, and because, swear to God, my hair is greasy enough on the top in the heat. But more importantly, truly, the only reason I'm still here, I'm actually doing some research, and is I want to see what happens when the meeting ends. Okay. You know, as the host, so I'm not here, even though I came here for a moment here or two. I'm not here.
Alrighty. Okay, we'll go ahead and just have us for now. All right, everyone smile. 1, 2, 3. Don't move. There you go. Awesome. I got it. Yay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. What were we talking about? Social media stuff?
Social media and the post, the schedule for posting. So we can we can talk about it a little bit more offline, but we wanted to share that with members so that they're aware. And if you guys have any ideas for what we can include, again, we're open to your input. And then I think for 9/17, Raheem, we can come up with a preliminary 3-month schedule if that's okay with you.
Yep. Okay. I think there was something else about the sound. Oh yeah, the other social media account that we do have is Nextdoor, which is I think actually pretty useful.
Yeah. Okay. So it's Nextdoor, Facebook, and Twitter that we have, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is the Twitter linked with the Facebook? I know that sometimes happens?
Yeah, I think so. Like I think Jeff set it up.
I think also
But I mean,
Instagram is linked to Facebook. So I think
you can, yeah.
right. You can post in one place and then they will kind of mirror post, copy.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe
you
so.
can.
I mean,
There's some data out there that suggests that like that cross posting like that isn't super effective. Like that you want to kind of like create content that's specific to those platforms. Like Instagram is all about like pictures and
Pictures,
video, right? It's not really
images.
like text, right?
Yeah.
Facebook is more about text and interactions. Twitter,
Yes.
you know, kind of maybe like right down the middle of those two. So like,
Mhm.
yeah, so I mean, we could link everything and just like have everything shoot out to everywhere, but then like, is that the best way for our social media to kind of exist?
Yeah, I think that like the schedules that I've designed are geared towards each platform. So Facebook will have an image and a longer description of the item, and then Twitter will have pretty much just like maybe 10 words and a handle or a hashtag, and then the Nextdoor can be similar to Facebook, right? And then Instagram, yeah, Instagram is generally a picture that's more descriptive of the item and have some, you know, some sort of description underneath, and the combination of like a handle or a hashtag or something like that.
Or link in bio or something.
Yeah, something like that. So we can work on developing what those posts should look like for each platform. But I think do we want to target the millennials in our community? We might want to use Instagram, you know. Facebook, people use it, but it is, you know, I don't know what the usage stats are for that, but you know, definitely include it for sure. Nextdoor, I don't think I'm even on Nextdoor. So I mean, I'll probably join now. But
yes, I think it's a good place to be. I personally use Facebook a lot and Nextdoor less so, but those are, and
Nextdoor will tell you how many people are part of that.
Engaged.
You know, it's, you know, let's say Jefferson Park has 3,000 members. Not all 3,000. Well, some people are just trolling. They don't say anything, but they see what's going on.
Trolling, yeah, those trolls. But yeah, I think we can share that schedule, and please send us your ideas.
yes, of course.
And Nancy, I think you said something earlier, but we weren't able to hear you.
Oh no, I just said that I just signed up for Nextdoor during this call.
Oh, really? Cool. Yeah, I'm going to do that right after. I promise. All right. I think
your life will never be the same.
Yeah.
On Nextdoor, there's lots of arguments.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So
and now, you know, now with elections, it's gonna.
I mean, not that many about the election, but before racial relations, that was just crazy. That was the craziest one.
Okay, since you're just yakking, Nextdoor, found dog, lost dog, dead dog.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah,
yes.
I love the dogs. If you
That
have
is the
lost dog, found dog. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a pretty accurate description of what a feed looks like.
It really is.
And then as long as we're at it, my friend who does a lot of consulting for big businesses and stuff, she does not like social networking, and she calls it social not working.
Yeah.
Oh, ouch, ouch.
Right?
All right.
Although, is Zoom now part of social networking, out of curiosity?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
It's just a communications platform.
Yeah, there you go. That's why you're a co-chair, Raheem. You know stuff.
Yeah, but Raheem, how is Facebook not a communications platform? And I don't know the answer.
Well, because like when this meeting ends, I don't have any way to connect with anybody else on this call via Zoom. Like I think it's the being able to connect with people outside of the immediate, back and forth that's happening right now. I think that would make it more of a platform than, or more of a social media network than.
There's no hub for communication, right?
Yeah. They'll probably develop one just for the hell of it.
Yeah. Well, I have to say Zoom is really compelling because I watched the Joe Biden speech and then I fed the cats and I had some pizza. So I wasn't going to be at this meeting, but then I sat back down at the computer because like I said, I'm doing some research for something else. And it's like, oh no, this is really interesting.
Yeah,
and
we're the fun
talking to
committee.
each other, and they're seeing each other. And that's what, it's like, I'm not getting my work
That's
done.
right.
But this is interesting.
Told you, Raheem, we're gonna rock this committee.
We are. I can feel it. I can feel it.
I do have.
But I do have one other question. On the website that I'm supposedly in charge of for different organizations, though again I know nothing, and my designer wants more money for everything we ask her to do, but it has Facebook running through. So in other words, anytime I or any of the other admins post to that organization's Facebook page, it immediately also shows up on the website. So a person going to our website for the first time for the third time, and they see it's completely the same as the first time and the second time, except the Facebook is different. So that's a cool thing. And I'm trying to get her to agree to do Instagram, and that's where we're having our financial discussions. But is that possible in the platform, the kind of platform we have on our website, or software, or whatever one would call it, to run?
Yeah, because it's just WordPress, and there's all sorts of plugins and widgets that you can do that through. So yeah, it's possible.
Yeah. Well, because for us, it's like if we're advocating for something, because UNNC doesn't, but this other organization's an advocacy organization, it's really good that immediately upon us seeing we have something to advocate about, it's right there on the website without further ado, because we just posted it to Facebook. So, if we're trying to get people to an event, either way, it just shows up immediately. Doesn't stay because the next thing shows up, and then the next thing and the next thing, just like Facebook.
We're thinking about.
Okay, we can add it. Lizzie?
Yes, so are we moving to the new projects? Have we
Yes.
already moved on?
No, let's move on to the next item, which is new projects and suggestions.
Okay, so I just wanted more of an update because I remember we discussed about the hand sanitizer project, and that kind of got suspended. Laura?
Yeah, well, it kind of got suspended because people objected to the one that was proposed. Here, I'm going back on video.
Okay.
But nobody came up with another one, and we really should be getting a hand sanitizer, a little thing with our logo on it, even though that's more expensive than a non-logo thing.
Okay, but you also told me that Don is not authorizing us to distribute anything.
Right. So
for World Market,
the proposal. The second proposal that came to us, meaning the one we were just recently discussing, the initial proposal goes back several months, and we gave up, where it was just handing out we were thinking when we handed out masks to the homeless, we would also hand out hand sanitizer. We were not interested in branding UNNC for the homeless population. But this more recent idea was that if we're going to be paying for on an ongoing basis the food boxes, we can slip the hand sanitizer into the food boxes, and Glenn at World Harvest is the one who's distributing. So we can do that. It's not about not distributing, it's about we can never touch it, whatever it is. We can't hand out our bags. We could hand out our bags inside those food boxes, but that doesn't seem to be easy. We can hand out a bag with food, but if somebody else was doing that. So I've seen other neighborhood councils seem to have been somehow getting around this edict, as I've seen photos of other neighborhood council members.
Laura, can you share the whatever instructions they gave you regarding that? Because
Well, I think everybody, oh yeah, because you're not on the email. We all just got another reminder email a couple weeks ago that we're not doing, can't do.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So essentially, they don't want neighborhood council board members putting their own lives at risk.
Distributing.
Because there are mommies and our daddies there at Dunn, right? But they have also shown us some photos, applauding some other neighborhood councils that somehow are doing food distributions. But I think what they're doing is in conjunction with a bunch of other organizations. I still don't know how their bodies can show up at the sites, but those are still food distributions and it may be that they have their bags there. But in broad terms, what we cannot do are outreach events. So we can't have a booth somewhere. We can't have a table. We can't be handing stuff out. We can't be walking door to door.
I mean, one of the things that we're doing that I wanted to suggest was, that I'm doing, at work is a virtual booth where it's kind of like an office hours where, we'll have like, come and visit us, ask us questions virtually. So that may be something that we
like a virtual
to explore.
open house.
Sorry, repeat that.
Like a virtual open house.
Yeah. Like we can, we can play some music. Can we? I don't know that we can now after a conversation, but have something like that where people can come and join just by pressing the link. They can come and join, and like we can have some backgrounds. Just
cool.
Empowerment
something to
Congress
people.
Yeah, Empowerment Congress West is doing bingo, virtual bingo.
Oh yeah, we can do like loteria or something like that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, virtual bingo. But what they're doing is 15 minutes of something every week, and I haven't actually logged on to see what they're talking about, but I get their e-blast.
Can you share that with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can coordinate something like that, right? And
Gina
that might be.
Is Nancy still on the call? It's Gina Fields. Nancy.
Nancy's still on.
Do you know her from the election thing, or Raheem?
Yeah.
Fields is sending this stuff out. So it's
Lizzie,
Congress West, or else it's Southwest.
Lizzie, that might be something that we can explore together, because it's like a mixture of communications and outreach for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it a little bit more offline and see if we can maybe develop a schedule of either the board members and then just the committees themselves having a virtual happy hour, not have a happy hour, but like a phone booth, open house booth or something like that,
Well, you know what,
do.
There's no real reason not to do other than it shouldn't be promoted solely as alcohol, but there's an organization here called WASH, W-A-S-H, which is West Adams Society of Home Brewers. They're people who brew beer in their garages and basements here in our area. And obviously they can't get together. They're having weekly, 5 o'clock on Saturdays, they're having weekly pours, right?
So we know what you do on Saturdays then, Laura.
I don't brew beer. And I haven't attended one, but I'm on the e-list. I'm on everyone's email list.
That's cool.
But they're sitting in their own
that sounds
home.
fun.
And there might be something that's not alcohol that we could think about doing. But back to what Lizzie was saying, it was Ethan Polk who actually had the proposal on the little hand sanitizers, one of his clients, consulting clients, that would have our logo. But it was just that another stakeholder, seeing it on the agenda, emailed with no specific, saying, I can get it for less. And maybe he could, and maybe he couldn't. We don't know who any of the vendors are, and I just haven't really followed up because we've had so many other work things. But
but
it
so Laura,
wouldn't be a bad idea, Lizzie, for us to have little hand sign that, you know, if we can figure out the right place to buy them, the right place to store them, and the right way
Okay.
to distribute them. There's those three components. But
How many units were you thinking of? Because I do have one vendor that I would like to ask, just as an inquiry.
but would you be willing to work with Ethan, because he had multiple vendors?
Okay.
I mean, ask Ethan. I mean,
Wait, who's Ethan? Is he
Ethan
still on the
Polk?
board?
Ethan Polk
No.
was our treasurer. He's not on the board, but he understands the ins and outs of funding things because he was the treasurer. So, you know.
I mean, just a recommendation, I would work with our current treasurer. Greg is our current treasurer, so I would recommend sticking.
He's not going to go out and research vendors. He's just going to approve them. In terms of personality, that's not going to happen, unfortunately. No, I mean, he's really great at what he does, but he's not going to be the person going out and researching vendors. He's going to want a team member to bring him the recommendation and not the other way around.
You know?
I can try. Yes, I can try to work on that.
And Lindsay, I'll also send you
project.
And I'll send you also the email from the fella who, I mean, I know the guy who emailed me saying I can get it for less. He lives on 4th Avenue. He's local. So, you know, I don't.
Okay, great.
But the issue is with hand
So, Laura, this seems like a conversation you should have with Lizzie offline.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And yeah, so connect on that. And then, but for like outreach committee, new projects and suggestions, I have on the list the virtual open house. Does anybody else have anything? Raheem, did I miss one, or that's it for now, right? Okay, great. So then, and then, that we can work on. And then Lizzie, for your meeting, you may want to add that project and follow up with Ethan or Greg and Laura about that.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I don't think there's anything else for us to cover in relations to the communications committee. So I think we're good to adjourn.
Yeah. The one last thing that I'll just out of all the things we talked about, the one thing that I think about now is maybe if everybody on this call today is going to want to continue on the communications committee. There might be it might make sense to form a couple of subcommittees, like a website subcommittee, social media subcommittee, so that there are just like 1 or 2 people dedicated to certain tasks, so that we can start to kind of like divide and conquer, because there is a lot to do here. And it sounds like hopefully, you know, we'll have some pretty involved people here. So I would like to exploit everyone in the best way possible, right? So just something for us to start to think about for the 9/17 meeting, so we can maybe come back and
so do you want to agendize for 9/17 the assignment of roles or subcommittees?
Yeah, roles. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, roles or subcommittees, whichever. Yeah.
Okay, subcommittees. And then we can come up with like a list of preliminary subcommittees that we may think are useful to have. And then at that time, we can maybe look at assigning those then. Yeah. All right, cool.
Well, the other thing I'd like you guys to consider, if I don't know if this would be your idea about having, you know, open hours and things like that. We have on the agenda the possibility of acquiring one more Zoom license, but if we're going to do that, you might consider that this joint committee, meaning communications outreach together, might need its own separate additional Zoom license if you're going to be doing stuff like that, because as discussed much earlier in this evening, I don't really want to be the person hosting all of the committee meetings, and particularly if you're going to add even more with open houses and open.
I mean, if there's nothing else on the schedule, we can use the same Zoom license.
Well, they're not transferable. I mean, in other words, I had to set it up, and we're going to experiment as to whether I had to really be here to shut it down. As soon as we're ready to shut down, you guys are going to try and shut it down. But I'm just saying, it's $160 a year. So if we got 2 more instead of 1 more, if this, you know, I'm just saying we should consider that. If we're implementing, if we implement the idea of having multiple open door meetings, yay.
Yeah. Let's add that to a follow-up discussion then. Once we figure out if and how we're gonna do these virtual open houses, then we can figure out logistics too. But let's we've agendized that for next meeting, so we'll bring some ideas back and then talk about that a little bit more. So I'm seeing like 4 items for the next meeting that we're gonna follow up on, and I think we can schedule a little bit more time to focus on the logistical stuff that it'll require. But yeah, I think we're good then, right, Raheem? Anything else?
That's it. Thank you guys. Thank you to my
Okay,
co-chair
great meeting,
for running
guys.
such an efficient meeting.
Yes.
Excellent work, Gabby.
Thank you so much. All
Yeah.
right.
Thank you.
This is great. I'm
All
looking
right.
All
Oh,
right, you guys.
don't forget, do you need to save your chat? There was no chat, right? Tonight?
No chat.
Okay,
Just
We're
you,
good.
Laura. Just you in the
Let's
chat.
just me.
see if
All
we
right.
can end it then.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try
that's like
and
saying, let's see if you guys can end it.
Oh, okay. All I can do is leave meeting, it says.
Oh, shit. All right, well, that becomes the answer. Hey, Liz, if you would leave, we were trying to see if by them, everybody leaving, if the meeting
Okay.
ends.
Okay.
And Rosie too.
Bye.
Thank you.